Never forget when Raps screwed the Eagles with one of the worst calls in Super Bowl history. Cowboys clearly hit a home run on Clayton Adams to lure the perfect free agent. The Luka Doncic trade is still the lead story in Dallas-Fort Worth. That shouldn't prevent folks from praising the Dallas Cowboys for the work they've done in the last 2 weeks. Of course, that can change at any moment with Jerry Jones at the helm. However, between retaining Londo Wells as tight ends coach and appointing Matt Eberflus as defensive coordinator, Ryan Schottenheimer has put himself in a position to succeed in year one on the job. The most exciting hire to Schotty's staff, though, is undoubtedly Clayton Adams as offensive coordinator. While Adams doesn't have any play-calling experience, his exotic running and blocking schemes helped catapult the Cardinals into an elite rushing offense and an upper echelon pass blocking unit despite middling to above average personnel. Adams' arrival supports Schottenheimer's desire to improve the running game and be a more physical team than Dallas was under Mike McCarthy. The move was praised by a variety of insiders, and you can now add Cardinals guard Will Hernandez to the list. Joseph Hoyt of All City DLLS caught up with Hernandez, who happens to be a free agent. In New Orleans ahead of Super Bowl 59, Hernandez gave a ringing endorsement of his former offensive line coach and confidently stated that the Cowboys are the right guy. Had a great conversation with Arizona offensive line Will Hernandez about Clayton Adams, and Joseph Hoyt is releasing the whole interview in just a matter of a day. Get excited, Cowboys Nation. It looks as though Schottenheimer hit an absolute home run hiring Adams as offensive coordinator. While OC is a big jump for Adams, it was only a matter of time until another team courted him. In fact, a recent report hinted Kellen Moore was expected to hire Adams on his staff, assuming he takes the Saints head coaching job after the Super Bowl. Another potential domino effect, the Cowboys sign Hernandez in free agency. All-pro guard Zach Martin is a free agent and is contemplating retirement, while former undrafted free agent Brock Hoffman impressed, filling in for Martin last season. He has a limited ceiling. Hernandez suffered a season-ending knee injury in Week 5, but he's been a steady presence along the interior of Arizona's offensive line. He has experience at both guard positions, but played exclusively at right guard with the Cardinals. Hernandez didn't allow a single sack before their injury and was rock solid across the board in 2023 when he started all 17 games. He posted a 74.2 pass blocking grade and allowed just 4 sacks and 8 quarterback hits in over 1,000 snaps per PFF. If Schottenheimer truly wants to change Dallas's offensive identity, they need to get more physical in the trenches. Tyler Smith is a world beater at left guard, and Cooper Beebe has a Pro Bowl ceiling at center. Hoffman is a nice story and plays with an edge, but that shouldn't dissuade the front office from looking for upgrades. Hernandez went to school at Texas El Paso and is clearly a huge Adams fan, and the Cowboys have a glaring need at guard with Martin's future up in the air. Who says no? Hey, Cowboys Nation, if you bleed navy and silver, it's to step up your fan game with Fanatics, the ultimate destination for officially licensed Dallas Cowboys merch. Now I'm talking everything. Timeless jerseys of legends like Emmitt Smith and Tony Romo, and the latest threads for stars like Dak Prescott and Micah Parsons. But that's not all. If you want hoodies, they've got them. Perfect for those chilly Sunday tailgates at AT&T Stadium. Looking for hats, collectibles, or even custom jerseys with your own name and number? Fanatics has you covered with a massive selection you won't find anywhere else. Because real fans don't just show up on game day, they live Cowboys football all week long. When you're in the stands or streaming from home, make sure you're sporting the freshest gear on the planet. Head on over to Fanatics, link in the description, and stock up on all your Cowboys essential. Trust me, once you gear up at Fanatics, you'll be turning heads wherever you go. Because here in Cowboys Nation, we don't just watch the game, we own it. Fanatics, where sports fans shop. And now back to the rest of the Dallas Cowboy headlines. And we now have Peyton Hendershot revealing the painful reason why the Cowboys will never be the Chiefs. For the second time in 3 years and the third time in 8 years, the Dallas Cowboys will watch in utter distress as the hated Philadelphia Eagles play in the Super Bowl. Fortunately, they will be up against one of the greatest teams ever assembled in the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs can cement their status as the greatest team in NFL history with a win on Sunday, as they would become the first franchise to win 3 consecutive Super Bowls. Beyond that, this marks Kansas City's 5th Super Bowl appearance in the last 6 years, and they've been to 7 straight AFC title games. The Cowboys put together a similar run in the 90s. They won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years and made the NFC title game 4 straight years. One of the most talented teams in NFL history, that core should have won more than 3 championships. But Jerry Jones fired Jimmy Johnson after Dallas' second straight title in '93. Another dynasty is obviously a ridiculous ask, but Cowboy fans would do anything to get back to the mountaintop. There are countless reasons to explain Dallas' near 30-year drought, but former tight end Peyton Hendershot laid out the biggest reason. Jay Oka of Blogging the Boys caught up with Hendershot at Radio Row and asked about the biggest difference between the Chiefs and the Cowboys. Hendershot made sure to note he wasn't throwing strays at his former team, but he did not mince words about the culture Jerry Jones has fostered, saying, quote, "I just feel like when I came to Kansas City, my first experience in the NFL was the Cowboys, so that's all I knew. I just feel like here it is strictly football and winning. Nothing else but just football and winning. I feel like with the Cowboys, it's a little bit more like a public image, the extracurriculars that come with it too, and here it's just, let's just win football." It's important to note that Hendershot did not speak down on the Cowboys. The 25-year-old merely compared his experience in Dallas to that of his brief time with Kansas City. The Chiefs are obviously an extreme example of a winning culture, but Hendershot's quote supports what several former Cowboys have said about the extracurricular taking precedence in Dallas. Hendershot mentioned things such as signing autographs, tours, picture opportunities. While all pertinent and part of the problem, we would instruct fans to look no further than the team's search for a new coach. Jerry Jones claims he would give anything for another Super Bowl, and yet his coaching search featured just 4 candidates. One was an in-house candidate who ended up getting the job, and one used to play and work for the team. There is nothing wrong with passing on courted candidates like Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, but not even bringing them in for an interview? That's unserious. Dragging their feet with Mike McCarthy, which caused them to miss out on Mike Vrabel, that is the inaction of an unserious franchise. Hendershot didn't reveal anything new, but it hurts all over again. Maybe the Cowboys will luck into a Super Bowl with their current core, but it will be in spite of the culture that Joneses have cultivated since the team's last championship 30 years ago. The former Cowboy that's now playing in the Super Bowl buried Jerry Jones over the CeeDee Lamb negligence. Everyone associated with the Dallas Cowboys will be rooting for Kansas City to beat the Philadelphia Eagles in Super Bowl 59. It's been 8 years since the Eagles' last championship, but Sunday marks their 3rd Super Bowl appearance in that span. We don't have to tell you that the Cowboys haven't advanced as deep as the NFC Championship game since their last victory in '95. There's no telling how much longer the drought will last, but Jerry Jones changing how he runs the team would go a long way. We could go on for hours about things Jerry Jones should change. If it were up to Cowboy fans, hiring an actual general manager and stripping Stephen Jones of his influence in the front office would be the first order of business. That, unfortunately, is a pipe dream. Another area where Jones needs to change is within the realm of possibility. It's how he negotiates contracts with his players. Former Cowboys tight end Ben Hendershot said as much during a conversation on Radio Row, quote, "You just think about CeeDee Lamb and how much he does for our offense and what fall camp does for you and your season. And CeeDee wasn't at one of those. That's Dak's number 1 target. He's not getting reps with his top target, or are you going to go into the season and perform how you want to perform? When you have a player of that magnitude, you want to take care of that. You want to get that solved so him and Dak get their connection going. That makes everyone else's job easier." What do you know? It turns out Cowboys players feel the same as fans when it comes to Jones negotiating contracts. While it takes 2 to tango at the negotiation table, there was zero benefit to delaying Lamb's extension. Justin Jefferson reset the wide receiver market in early June when he secured $35 million per year from the Vikings, and numerous other upper echelon receivers inked deals along the way, including the Eagles' A.J. Brown and the Lions' Amon-Ra St. Brown. Cowboys had an opportunity to get out in front of those deals. Brown and St. Brown both signed their extensions all the way back in April. Lamb surely wanted to wait for Jefferson. The Joneses were never going to set the market themselves, but again, that domino fell in early June. And yet Lamb didn't sign until August 26th, less than 3 weeks before the regular season. Just as Hendershot laid out, Prescott and Lamb weren't on the same page to start the season and had a trickle-down effect on the offense. There was zero benefit to dragging out Lamb's negotiation. The Joneses have repeated this cycle time and time again over the years. They wait until the 11th hour to hustle and always end up getting taken to the woodshed by their players. That does not bode well for Micah Parsons' negotiations this offseason. And now, on to our next topic. Zach Martin shares a damning reason why Mike McCarthy couldn't return to the Cowboys. Even though Brian Schottenheimer hasn't even led his first practice as Dallas Cowboys head coach, it's hard not to be impressed by the infancy stages of his tenure. Based strictly on the coaching staff Schottenheimer's assembled and the coaches he chose to move on from, you get the feeling he knows what he's doing. Between hiring Matt Eberflus as defensive coordinator and convincing tight ends coach hiring Dak Prescott despite Shawnee's promising start, it's too early to say if the Cowboys made the right decision to move on from McCarthy. With that said, a recent quote from Zach Martin at the Super Bowl shed a damning light on McCarthy's final season in North Texas, saying, quote, "I've got a ton of respect for Coach McCarthy and what he did when he came here, but for whatever reason, something was off this year. Things weren't gelling, weren't clicking, and I think that's something Shoddy views as A1 importance. To kind of get that fellowship, that brotherhood back in the locker room. That's one thing we want to do is twist Martin's words. It is clear Martin thought highly of McCarthy. He stated as much. However, the all-time Cowboys said outright that the brotherhood in the locker room wasn't where it needed to be as the team stumbled to a 7-10 finish. That isn't to say McCarthy completely lost the locker room. The Cowboys played hard down the stretch despite being eliminated from playoff contention. CeeDee Lamb battled through an injury until he was shut down for the final 2 games. And Micah Parsons was utterly dominant to close out the campaign. It was seen as a credit to McCarthy that the face of the franchise fought tooth and nail until the bitter end. At the same time, though, Martin's quote proved Dallas had to make a change. First order of business for a head coach is to create and maintain a strong culture. While McCarthy achieved that over his first 4 years, his grip seemingly waned as the 2024 season rolled along. Schottenheimer waxed poetic about culture and relationships during his introductory press conference, saying they are more important than X's and O's. While Shoddy will have to prove himself in the X's and O's department, the success of a head coach begins and ends with culture. That's exactly why Martin and several other players have rallied behind Schottenheimer since he was named head coach. And now, to our next topic. Perfect wide receiver upgrade for Dak Prescott just fell into the Cowboys' lap. Cowboys should make this trade right now. The Dallas Cowboys are currently enjoying being the second biggest disgrace, for lack of a better term, in the DFW area, with fans protesting outside American Airlines Center after the Mavericks traded Luka. There's a real opportunity for Jerry Jones to sweep Dallas loyalists off their feet. Trading for Myles Garrett, who has requested to trade out of Cleveland, would be the best possible start in that regard. But it's been a long time, probably since Amari Cooper in 2018, since Jones swung a trade of the blockbuster variety. We all remember the impact Cooper had on Prescott. The passing game really struggled before Cooper's arrival, as the Cowboys saddled Prescott with a truly lousy group of receivers. Ezekiel Elliott led the team with 77 catches, while Cooper led the way with 725 receiving yards, despite coming over mid-season. While Prescott has an elite wideout in CeeDee Lamb now, you can make a strong case that number 2 receiver is Dallas's biggest need this offseason. Well, the football gods may have answered Cowboys fans' prayers, as a prominent wideout is now being shopped by his team. The LA Rams have informed Cooper Kupp that they will trade him this offseason. A receiver broke the news on social media late Monday night. Kupp is not long removed from winning the NFL's Triple Crown in 2021, where he led the league in catches, 145, receiving yards, a little more than 1,900 yards, and receiving touchdowns with 16 during the regular season. It is one of the best individual seasons in NFL history, regardless of position. Kupp followed that with an equally dominant playoffs, leading all pass catchers in all 3 categories. Later named MVP of the Super Bowl after he caught a game-winning touchdown in LA's narrow 23-20 win over the Bengals. It is important to note that Kupp will turn 32 before the start of next season. Former Offensive Player of the Year is undoubtedly on the decline, but he is still a more than serviceable number 2 receiver. Context, Jalen Tolbert finished second on the Cowboys this season with 610 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns, and he played all 17 games. Brandon Cooks unlikely to be re-signed in free agency. Prescott sorely needs another sure-handed veteran. The current terms of contracts aren't appealing, but any team acquiring him will surely renegotiate his contract. Currently, he carries a 2-year, $22 million valuation. The Cowboys can absolutely afford that. More receivers may become available between now and April's draft, but it would be foolish of the Joneses to bank on that. Trading for Kupp would plug one of the roster's biggest holes and give Will McClay and the front office more flexibility in free agency and the draft. Most importantly, it would give Prescott much needed help opposite Lamb.